Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to our BKFC Reddit Ask Me Anything. We're joined by Ryan Petersen. How you doing, sir?
I'm well, man. How are you?
Good. You look good again. The one thing that's crazy about bare knuckle, you guys' face after a fight looks awful. Within 10 days, you're back to normal, basically.
That's basically what I figured. Yeah, it's about 10 days. I think for me, it was about, other than I had like a slight black eye underneath, about 6 days. When one time I was leaving a fight, this doctor pulled me aside. And he says, he's a doctor from Vegas. And he says, hey, do a massive dose of vitamin C. He says, do 2,000 milligrams when you wake up, 1,000 milligrams every hour thereafter. And seriously, takes all my swelling away in a day. So that literally, like, the only thing that might be a little bit swollen would be my hands, but literally my face will be puffy for one day. I was in the airport, my face looks nasty. I just throw sunglasses on. But beyond that, like the next day, all my swelling's down, but you still have some discoloration and obviously stitches.
That's the one crazy thing is like you guys go. Like I was in Dubai. Like all these guys go to
Oh
Dubai,
wow.
and then they have to do fly international home, and like some of them are leaking still blood on their face, and it's
Yeah.
like you get such crazy looks when you're at the airport.
Yeah, the normally, yeah, you do get real crazy looks. I throw sunglasses on, but this last time they gave us those sweatsuits that say, like, I think it says like bare knuckle fighter on it, so people kind of had a clue seeing somebody's face all busted up. All right, that's probably what he does. But for the most part,
Okay.
yeah, you might just be sitting there and all of a sudden your nose start dripping blood.
I wanted to get this one out of the way. Like I always reach out to people who know you to get a question. I reached out to your most recent opponent, Dustin Pegg, and I said, hey, tell me about Ryan. Give me something. He said, all I can say is he's an absolute amazing person, an amazing fighter. I knew right away after meeting him he was going to be a warrior. I can see him dominating the welterweight division, stud of a human, father, and a fighter. Tell him that Sam's Club is better.
To hell with Dustin. No, Dustin was fantastic from the jump. It was one of those things. I walked in the hotel and he was checking in. He turned and looked, did like a double take, and just immediately came up. Super pleasant, super nice dude. I honestly I consider Dustin a friend. It was interesting because excuse me, you don't really, like, I don't know Dustin personally on a massive level, right? But I know him deeply in a sense. I know something about him that most people don't know unless you do fight him. I feel like when you fight somebody, you get to know something about somebody that even the closest people around them don't know. And I love Dustin. Dustin was absolutely fantastic. Wonderful fighter, wonderful human, wonderful family man. I love Dustin. Absolutely. Thank you, Dustin. The hell with Sam's Club too.
Okay, so he was telling me that you're like a manager at Costco, and like, so is that your day-to-day job?
Yeah, that is my day-to-day job. I am a manager at Costco. I actually don't leak that out there too much. So I have said it before, but I
Okay.
really don't, just because for one, I don't know if Costco wants to be associated with that. You know what I mean? I don't know if they want to be associated with a bare knuckle fighter necessarily, but they've never poo-pooed it, but they've also never stepped up and recognized it, and they have a platform to recognize it. So I'm not certain. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I'm not certain.
Yeah, it's one of those. I mean, people fight like MMA, box. I mean, it's out there, and I mean,
Yeah,
look at you. You're a good-looking dude, well-spoken. You
thank you.
know, you fighting at the top of the level. I feel like they should give you like a little support. You know what I mean?
I agree, and maybe a couple extra paychecks too.
I know. Like, come on, throw me on the sponsorship. You know what I mean? Like Costco
Exactly.
on the trunks
Sponsor me.
would go along. Yeah.
Yeah, sponsor me with some stock. Maybe I'm cool with that.
Yeah. I have a friend. I think she works for one of the either Costco or Sam. I don't remember. But I mean, it's a crazy good job. And she was one of those that out of high school she went, and now she's like an upper management. And like it's, I didn't realize it was like a lot of people are like, oh, it's definitely not the same as like working at necessarily like a local grocery store or something. It's a pretty phenomenal career.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm an eighth grade dropout. That's the crazy part. I was living in my car when I got hired on at Costco. I've actually left the company 3 times. I've gone off to do my own ventures and do whatever I wanted to do. And I've always left the company on good terms and come back. But you figure I'm an eighth grade dropout, and they're paying me a college educated wage, so that's pretty good. A lot of my peers have college degrees and things like that, and I literally left school after eighth grade, so that's pretty wild to me.
What made, I mean, is it something you're getting okay to talk about? Like what made you leave school? Did you need to
Oh yeah,
get a
yeah, yeah.
job? Like what
Um, Well, I didn't get a job immediately after I left school. No, I was a hoodlum for a lot of time. No, I could talk about this. This is actually probably a little bit crazy. Something good to open the morning up to. I grew up just a bit crazy. I'm adopted for one. Grew up in my folks split when I was 5 after I was adopted, and then my mom and my stepdad married, and it was just kind of a tumultuous relationship, just always at each other's throats. Alcohol and cocaine fueled a lot of that. And after they split, there's some things that went down that they split, some pretty violent episodes. And crazy enough, so we ended up moving into my great grandfather's old house after he had passed. My mom went in like a massive depression, tried to commit suicide, and she cut her wrists, and it was a crazy situation where I'm like probably 14 or 15, and I'm going like, "What are you doing?" I couldn't wrap my head around it. They took her away to a hospital for a while,
Sure.
and I just quit going to school at that point. So I just dropped out of school, and when she came back, it was already like, "Well, I've been out of school for as long as you've been gone." And there was nobody at the house. It was my brother and I. He's 5 years older, and basically just went from there. We just had no supervision, and that's pretty much most of how we grew up. No supervision, so we just kind of ran around how we wanted to, and a lot of it was very ignorant. You know what I mean? A lot of ignorant stuff like that. So that's what I look at. Like my first 20 years of my life, I basically threw away. I threw away doing nothing, and I started training when I was probably 17. I started getting into that, and that's really what turned my life around. And it's made me just a totally different human being, to be honest with you.
You've got a beautiful story. Like I hate to put this into the universe, but I feel like the fight to make out there in California, because you're California, right?
Yes, sir.
I feel like you versus Angel Corps, you guys both have such crazy stories about being hoodlums when you're younger. You guys are both in the same weight class. I could easily see you guys headlining a card out there like Temecula or something like that. Like,
That'd be awesome.
Are you friends with Andrew or anything, or is Drew? Huh? It's not Andrew, it's Drew.
No, I don't know him. He's a Southern California guy, so I suppose we could do like a Southern California versus Northern California. But I did see Dustin and him fought, and he seems like another pleasant individual. You know what I mean? He doesn't seem like he seems like my type guy, honestly. So that'd probably be an awesome fight.
Yeah, it's one of those things like, that BKFC like hammers an area. They went to California. They went to California a couple weeks later, and now it's been nothing. And like I know there was supposed to be a California card, and that got postponed. But it's one of those. I would me personally as a fan, I'd rather see them go to like California in the spring and then go in the fall. You know what I mean? Like I'd rather see like a little bit of a but like I feel like it's time to see a California card. And like I said, you guys are both two dudes, turned your life around. Now you're like, doing great things. Like I feel like that'd be an awesome fight to make.
Yeah, hey, that sounds good to me. You know what I mean? I'm a fan of his. And that's good that we have a common opponent in Dustin. Again, like I said, he seems like a classy individual. So good for him for turning his life around as well. But I don't know him personally, but like I said, I do know. I think that he's a Southern California guy. So I'm way up in the hills in Northern California. So we could do a Northern California versus Southern California thing. That'd be cool.
Okay, let's talk about your fight against Dustin. Like I honestly thought, I mean, you rocked him a couple times. You hurt him pretty hard. When you guys both clipped each other, but you clearly got the better of that. I was like, oh, Dustin's in trouble. You could tell that his foot was on the gas, but I could also tell that you weren't necessarily 100% hurt. We've talked about the controversial thing about the refs stopping fights. What is your feeling about that? Do you like that the refs can stop the fights? Do you wish there was a standing 8 count? Like, what's your thoughts?
You know what? I'm totally fine even without a standing 8 count, but let me go out on my shield. Let me hit the deck. You know what I mean? Because I was still there. It's funny because I was going to say, there's a few things that I know about. I know about all sorts of crazy conspiracies, and I know something about punching Andrew Glenn in the stomach as well. But it's funny when that happened. It's because Dustin was kind of leaning on me. I felt pressure from him, and I could see his black shorts. And when Andrew Glenn came in, he pushed on me, and I could just see the black on his shorts on the pants. His stomach was hard too when I hit him, and I looked up and I said, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "You're done, you're done." And I went, "Fuck," So, I've heard quite a few theories from that. People saying, "Oh, well, maybe he saw your cut." And I said, "Well, it's not for him to stop the cut." I don't hold it against Dustin whatsoever. Dustin and I spoke about it after, but I do feel like, when it's bare knuckle, let me hit the ground. Let somebody put me down, and we'll take it from there. And then let me hit the ground, and then see if I get back up, especially after that first round, because that was just a pretty gnarly shot that I landed. But You know what? It is what it is. And I didn't protest because I noticed Sean Wheelock said something about, well, he's not really protesting. But I'm a grown man. What are you going to do?
Sure.
Argue yourself back into a fight? He waved it off. I'm not going to say, well, let's start it in 10 more minutes, or that's not the case. Hats off to Dustin.
Well, what's crazy is like the 165 is just an insane vision right now. And
Yeah.
like you look at you fought Dustin Peg, who's tough. You fought Sokolowchuk, who just had a crazy fight. 165 to me is a logjam of really talented fighters at this moment.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's pretty crazy how, and not only that, but just the difference in some of these guys are super tall, some are short, some are thick. You know what I mean? It's got quite a variance of what somebody is for 165. And yeah, Sokolowchuk is so tough, man. That guy's a dog. That guy is so freaking tough. So, and it's funny because him and I didn't really talk before or after the fight, other than when we got stitched up. But hey, man, shout out to Matt, dude. Thank you for that fight. I appreciate that, Matt.
Yeah, like you just said, you got some Dustin Peg, kind of like a petite fighter, a little guy, but then you have Bryce Henry, who's like 6'4", 165 is nuts. Like Derek Finley, like we just saw that Derek Finley, not an overly tall guy, first fighting a giant. Like it's crazy the matchups that we're going to be seeing over the next years.
Yeah, it really is. And I wouldn't call Dustin a petite guy. He's muscular, man. That guy's thick. That guy's super thick. It's funny too because before weigh-ins, he looked a bit more slim, and then when we were at weigh-ins, I was like, damn, he filled out pretty good. So that's good though. That's good. Yeah, he's Dustin's a strong dude. Dustin can bang. Dustin is a strong dude, and just I can't say enough good stuff about Dustin. I really appreciate that guy. That was a hell of a fight.
He's one of the guys who I actually text with on like a weekly basis and joke with. But I mean, like, yeah, he's got a sense of humor. Like we did an interview and he got up and all he was wearing was underwear, like, and you could see his ass. And like, I mean, like I said, he likes to prank me. So anytime I get to take a dig at him, I try to.
Well, good. Yeah, he seemed, just him and I. We stayed up into like probably 4 a.m. at the hotel the night after the fight. We just stayed up in the lobby, just talking about family and life and things like that. So good dude. I can't say enough good stuff about that guy. So all the best to him in his fight. Hopefully they give him his fight with Julian Lane, and all the best to him in that. Absolutely, I'm rooting for Dustin. I'm a fan.
Is it easier to fight somebody you don't like? You just said, you like him. Do you, when you're going into a fight, do you try not to get to know the fighter? Or you leave that to afterwards, or like I've talked to some fighters and they say, look, I don't go as hard on my friends, and it kind of can be detrimental. So are you the same way? Like you'd rather not be friends going into the fight?
I'm indifferent. It really doesn't matter to me. I'm a pleasant individual. Like I said, when I was growing up, man, I was a real fool. Did a lot of dumb stuff, and I really don't want to continue on that path of ignorance. You know what I mean? I got nothing negative to say. All these guys are all. You can't be a coward and get in there. You know what I mean? You got to be a man to get in there. You got to have balls to get in there, and if you're gonna fight like that, so uh, I don't feel negativity towards anybody. I feel pretty indifferent, and it's the fact that I think Dustin and I both agreed on this too. I could like you before, I could like you after, but for that time that we're in there, I'm gonna try to take your head off, and as soon as the bell rings, I'll shake your hand and give you a hug because now I've gained a more, even a deeper respect for you.
Okay, you talked about martial arts training at 17. Ryu, does that come from that? Like, is it a Street Fighter thing? Like, where did you get the nickname? And tell me about your martial arts.
So I got the name Ryu when I was 6 years old. My buddy Jason, funny enough, my buddy Jason started calling me that because the Ryu or the Street Fighter 2 video game down at the local pizza joint. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So we'd go down and play that, and just my name being Ryan, he always just called me Ryu. So I've been called Ryu since I was 6 years old. So anywhere I've ever lived, everybody else knew me as either just Ryu or Ryu Ryan. And I started training with some jujitsu, and then went to it's funny because jujitsu was always kind of like a puzzle I could never quite figure out. I never really loved it or anything like that. But then I started training Muay Thai, loved that, and then went to just basically straight kickboxing. It's funny because it says on my bio for BKFC that I'm a Muay Thai fighter. I consider myself a kickboxer. I love heavy hands, hard low kicks. I guess you could call it Muay Mat style, but I love heavy hands, hard low kicks, Dutch style kickboxing, K1. That's what I love. So I started training kickboxing, and got to travel a bit. So when I did start Costco, I got to transfer from Costco to Costco, and I go travel in different places. Lived in the Bay Area for a while. Moved up to Seattle. I trained at Ivan Salivari's gym with Maurice Smith and Ivan, Brad Kurtzen. Trained with all those dudes. Scott Schaefer. Moved back to California for a while. Then moved back up to Washington for a while. And I lived in Bellingham, but I trained in Canada. So I would literally drive across the border every day, or at least 6 days a week. I went and trained at World Kickboxing Extreme Fitness. Trained up there with the Johnsey family, who you see Jay Johnsey is still in my corner. That's one of my cornermen, Jay Johnsey, Sep Kademi. And so every day I drive up to Canada, train with them, fought with them, everything like that. You know what I mean? Fought for that team. So they'd have the USA cards. You know, I was in America, always fighting on the Canadian team. So that's basically how that went. And then when Bare Knuckle came about, I had actually moved back to California. We just started having kids. So I just had my first son. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, I told my wife, I was like, I got to do this. I was like, that is what I was born for. You know what I mean? I loved it from the jump and just knew that that's what I was built for. And I feel like here's something I feel that generally, I feel like the gym enforcers are the guys that are good at bare knuckle, because we don't always necessarily have the best technique. Like there's guys in the gym that are technically better. And I don't mean to say that I have bad technique, but there's guys that are just beautiful to watch as far as their technique goes. Textbook technique, everything is blocked perfect and all that. The gym enforcer doesn't mind taking a few shots to give a few. We have hard pressure, and we go in. A lot of times you're just the dog. You're the dog in the gym, where you get a lot of guys that have got the perfect technique. They don't want to get busted up like the gym enforcer might. You know what I mean? So I've always felt like I was the gym enforcer. If somebody came in there acting crazy, throw me on them. I'm on them like a pit bull on a pork chop, you know?
Were you a fan of BKFC, like from the promotion start? Did you find it a little later?
Yeah.
Like, how did you find BKFC?
Yeah, so I saw it online, obviously, when it first popped up. When was it in Wyoming, I think, for the first one.
Sure.
I remember seeing the first one and just thinking like, wow, I got to do that. Watching it from there, watching all the ones that were coming up, and figuring out like, how the hell can I do this? And this was before I figured out all the tryouts. So actually, there was then. Fast forward a couple years, obviously BKFC is kind of popping off, and we had a local show here that they offered a bare knuckle fight, and I was like, hell yeah, I'll take it. So I figured if I could get on that, win, take my chance at that fight, then try to get a hold of BKFC. So that's what happens. I won the fight, got a hold of Nate. After I got a hold of Nate, we kind of hemmed and hawed. We kind of went back and forth with, okay, I can give you this date, I can give you this date. You know, there's a few dates that went by that things fell through, and then I went to the tryout. Matter of fact, I got my contract the day before the tryout. Actually, he sent me a contract the day before the tryout. But either way, I still went to the tryout out in Utah, and I met Chris and everything like that. And from there, I just busted my ass at the tryout. I just went full blast and everything. It's time for burpees. I just smashed out as much burpees. It's time to run. Just run as much as I can. You know, just went full blast and everything. And they noticed that from the jump. Again, front and center, punctual, first one there, last one to leave. And that's what happened. So then from there, obviously, I went and fought in Long Beach, fought Godoy in Long Beach. And what a great dude Dan Godoy is as well. I still talk with Dan pretty often. So
okay.
But that's what it was. So I had went to the tryout after that. And I'd say that was really probably the best move that I did. So I encourage anybody that if you want to get into BKFC, go to the tryout, get noticed, go from there and be brought up. And that's something too, is I feel like I'm a homegrown BKFC guy. I'm not from any other organization. I'm from BKFC. I'm literally from the bottom. I'm number 46 from the tryouts, number 46 from the Utah tryout to main event in Philly. It's pretty wild. Used to just be a bum. Used to be a kid living on the street. Literally was homeless growing up to living my dream. So I have no animosity towards anybody. When I look at my life, it's been a dream. You know, it's been pretty wild. Not that I don't still have goals and dreams. I still have all those that I'm trying to obtain. But probably if I was to die tomorrow, other than taking care of my family, I could probably say, man, that was a pretty fantastic life.
On the Reddit, we get quite a few messages like, I wanna fight bare knuckle. What do I do? And like we tell people, join a boxing gym, go to tryouts. Like that's the only way you're gonna get picked up. I feel like.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic way. Yeah, join a boxing gym. Don't show up to the tryout not knowing shit from apple butter. You know what I mean? You shouldn't be standing there whether to know the shit or on your watch. You got to know that. You know what I mean? If they say jab, you got to know what a jab is. Don't be a bum. Don't be jabbing like you're on a freaking bicycle, your hand going like this. Go to a boxing gym, refine your technique, maybe get a few
Sure.
fights as well. You probably don't want to. I mean, maybe there are guys that just jump straight into bare knuckle. I don't know if they've had any successful guys do that, but get a few fights, see how you feel, see how you react under that pressure, see if you can hear your corner while you're in the ring, things like that, and go to a tryout and give it your all. Don't be a bum. When he says do burpees, you do your burpees. You don't go, oh, I'm tired. Show up in shape. That might be something. If you know, go online. You can see when there's tryouts. And what happened with me was I was actually expecting a fight to happen. So I stayed in shape for almost a whole year thinking a fight was going to come. And so when the time the tryouts came, I was basically in fight shape. So if they would have said, you want to fight tomorrow, I could have said, let's go. And that's how I showed up to the tryout. And that's what I would encourage anybody else to do. Show up to that tryout and give it hell. Give it your damnedest. Do your best. And listen to them. Listen to Chris when he's talking. Listen to Nate when he's talking. Don't think, because obviously there's some sparring that happens there. They tell you in there, don't go bananas in sparring. We're not here to see you kill somebody. We're here to see how well you listen. So when you go into sparring, don't be that dickhead that tries to take everybody's head off and prove that. You can do that in the ring. You can do that when you finally get a contract. If you get a contract, you can listen. And that's what I would say would be the best thing to do.
You're a guy who waited for a year to get the fight. How do you not lose motivation? How do you not go like, you know what, like, you know, they're not offering, there's other organizations out there you could go fight for. How did you stay true to the, you know, stay on the line and end up sticking with BKFC?
That's a good question. It actually never quite occurred to me, but it was just because I think I was in contact with Nate that whole time. So I was figuring like, all right, something's got to come from this. And when that contract came through that night, I remember the contract came through. I was laying in bed with my wife and I said, you know what? I said, maybe I couldn't have told you this before, but I was like, I knew this would happen. I just had a gut feeling that I knew this would happen. Maybe I didn't say it, but I knew it. I said, I knew this was going to be the path. And I feel the same thing about basically all these fights that have happened. Hitting a main event, like that's pretty wild. You think about it. I went from tryout to main event in under a year,
Right.
which obviously I was the B-side on the main event. You know what I mean? But still, I'll take it. That was fantastic. That was a fantastic opportunity. So I looked at everything as a blessing, everything as an opportunity. And hey, you know what? I encourage guys like me to do the same thing. Look at all these things as just opportunities and blessings that you have. I could have easily just said shoulda, coulda, woulda, never done any of this, but that's not what I couldn't. I don't think I could live with myself if that was the case. I have to push. So yeah, I just had a feeling that something was going to come of it. I just had a feeling.
You're a dad, you got kids. Do you hope your kids follow in your footsteps? You want them to be fighters? Would you prefer they use their brain for something other than getting punched at?
You know what? They are gonna learn to train no matter what. Either way, they're gonna learn how to defend themselves, defend those people around them. You know what I mean? They're gonna learn self-defense. They're gonna learn wrestling. They already trained with me a little bit. Matter of fact, I'm at my house right here. I'm in the gym at my house.
Okay.
So I've got a ranch. I've got a ranch out here in Northern California. We've got 3 houses on the ranch. So one of them we turned into a gym. So my boys come out here and they train with me. They'll definitely learn how to fight. If they decide to pursue that, that's up to them. So both of them say that they want to, but they're 6 and 3 right now. So we'll see. My 3-year-old, he's ready to fight today. If BKFC offered him a contract tomorrow, he'd do it.
You go from a homeless kid sleeping in a car to you now have a ranch that has 3 houses. Like, did you see your life turning around like that?
You know what? In hindsight, I look back and my life is not, it's not where I thought it would be. Don't get me wrong. I'm not rich. I'm not rich by any means. But I'm the only income. My wife is a stay-at-home mom. We homeschool our kids. We basically have a homestead here where we grow most of our own food or trade food. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Raise all of our own animals. We've had pigs, cows, chickens, ducks, goats, sheep, all that kind of stuff. So I burn the wick at both ends. But no, if I was to look back and you were to tell 17-year-old me that this is where I would be, I wouldn't believe it. Matter of fact, when I was growing up, I'm rocking a LOD Road Warriors shirt.
Absolutely.
When I was growing up, I wanted to be a pro wrestler. I wanted to get into pro wrestling. And then I started training for real and realized like, no, this is for me. But looking back, man, yeah, there was a point, I literally lived outside for a while and that sucked. Literally sleeping outside. I was in Washington at the time. And that sucked, sleeping outside. And I don't want nothing to do with that anymore. And this woman, she was 92 years old. She was actually my grandma's neighbor. And she she gave me an 82 Mercury Zephyr. Looks like a Ford Fairmont. You know what I mean? Just a hoopty, old steel bumper, all this kind of stuff. She
Sure.
gave me that car, and that was like a palace sleep compared to sleeping outside. You know what I mean? That was like, seriously, it made things seem not too bad. Although ideally, you don't want to be sleeping in a car, you know. But I rode that thing damn near till the wheels fall off. Though I lived in that thing for a long a job, and then went from apartment to apartment. I get an apartment. If I wanted to move somewhere at the time, I went to, so I moved. I lived here in Humboldt for a while, I'm originally from the Humboldt, Mendocino County area, Emerald Triangle, basically weed capital of the world. That's where I'm originally from. That's where I live currently.
Okay.
And basically moved down here, I moved in with my dad for a few months and then moved back into my car for a while, stayed in my car, got an apartment. Then I moved down to Huntington Beach, lived in my car, moved to Santa Rosa, lived in my car. That's when I got on with Costco and kind of bounced around from there. And every time that I would go, I just move somewhere, stay in my car for a while because it was just normal to me. And then from there, go, get an apartment or something like that. But I don't want to be homeless. I don't want to be homeless. So this is fantastic, having a wonderful home, a happy family, a healthy family. You know, I'm a rich man in that aspect. That's for sure. Good. You know what I mean? When I walk home, when I come home, my kids come running out to see me. That's rich to me. You know what I mean? That's wealth.
I feel like they can make a TV show about you. You have the normal job, you're a fighter, but then you're a homesteader and you raise it. Like you have an insane life. I feel there's so many people right now that are like, oh, he's got the dream life. I would love to do that, but they won't get off the couch to do it. And you're doing it. I feel like people would love to watch that.
Yeah, I do feel like that is it right there. You know what I mean? You wouldn't believe how many people that tell me the thing that drives me is you're lucky. Like, holy
Mhm.
shit. There's been some blessings along the way, I promise you that. But luck has nothing to do with it. There's a lot of hard work that goes into there. There's a lot of hard work that went into here, and there's a lot of pain that went here. You know what I mean? Yeah, luck has very little to do with all of it. It was all calculated risks, and just burning the wick at both ends. No joke, because that's exactly what I do now. I wake up usually 3, 4 a.m., go to work a full day, come home, or go straight to the gym and train, then come home and train again, and then still have to take care of everything here at the ranch. So no, I have a full day's life, that's for sure.
I don't see how you took time to do I feel bad taking you away from your family right now doing this interview. You probably have a million things to do.
No, you're good. I got the day off today, actually. So I work split days off also. So that's not cool. The Costco can always give me 2 days off in a row. I would not complain about that. I work splits. My kids are in the house right now. My wife is just actually getting up. I let her sleep in. There was some fights last night. I went and cornered a friend at the fights at Hard Fought Promotions, local fight promotion here, and everything is good, man. This is awesome to be here talking with you, Gator.
I appreciate it. Okay, what do you see? I mean, you clearly want to push for the 65 belt. Like I said, I think you versus Durangicore is a great fight. But what do you see? When do you see yourself fighting again? Is there anybody that you had on your radar before? Like, what do you want next?
You know what? Yeah, I'd like to fight. Honestly, if I could fight end of maybe November, October, November, that would be fantastic. I have nobody on my radar. I've always just taken it as it's came. Whatever they said, hey, there's this person. I just said, okay, let's go. I'm not one to call people out. I kind of feel like your destiny will find its own way, right? You know what I mean? You don't need to go picking names. And even then, I almost feel like it's a bit of a, why would you call somebody out? Obviously, you have a feeling that like, I could beat that guy. I'm going to call him out. You
Sure.
should wrestle with doubt in your mind. You should wrestle with doubt. Like, do I have what it takes to take this guy? You know what I mean? That's part of the process. That's part of what pushes you. I tell my son because he's going to get into wrestling. He says, I'm scared. I said, it's okay to be scared, but it's not okay to let it stop you. You know what I mean? You should have doubts. You should have these things. And that's why you train hard, because you go, you know what? Hey, this guy's scary. All these dudes are scary, right? All these dudes are scary. Getting your face busted up is not awesome. But that's what we do. You know what I mean? You throw it out there, you test where you're at, you find where you are at on this mountain of bare knuckle fighters. You know what I mean? Where do you fall on this mountain? Where do you land at the end of the day? That's exhilarating, man. That's a rush. That's crazy. That's every emotion rolled into one. So uh, yeah, I just take it as it comes, to be honest with you.
I like the way you go about it, but we also see the squeaky wheel gets the green. You know what I mean? Like you have guys on there who call out everybody in the roster, and they're also the guys that are getting quite a bit of fights. I know you do some social media. You're not super big on social media. Like, do
Yeah.
you also see that as being like a hindrance and holding you back also?
Yeah, I do, because I'm not one, I'm not super savvy with it. And two, that's just not part of my generation. You know what I mean? I didn't quite grow up with that. Not to say that I couldn't figure it out, like, with a little bit of probably, throwing a bit of time into it. But it was just not something I'm naturally drawn towards doing that. Not only that, to do a workout, sometimes I'll do these like workout videos, I'll sit up there, and geez Louise, does that take a lot of time just to do that. I'll usually do my workout and then I'll do the video after to show what I did. Because what a pain in the ass it is to set the camera up for every shot. I don't know how these kids do it. So but there is probably quite a bit in my life that is worth looking at, as far as like getting social media presence, even on what we have to do here at the ranch. But yeah, definitely social media is a big thing nowadays, and I'm just not. You know what I mean. I wish I had that skill. It's probably something I could refine, but it's not something I've jumped into and figured out. A lot of these young dudes are fantastic at it. A lot of these dudes got massive followings, and they got all sorts of crazy videos. I'm like, I don't know, how the hell did they do that? Do I need to get an iPhone? Because I got an Android. I don't know if it's something holding me back with that or what.
I've talked to Dave Mundell, and we're of the generation where it mattered the most to be the best fighter. You wanted to be the best. Now all
Yeah.
these guys want to be like the biggest tick seller, the most views, and it's crazy how people used to want to be the best fighter, and now they want to have the best social media experience.
Yeah. How old is Dave? You know?
He's in his 30s, but
Okay. Yeah.
how old are
Probably
you?
later 30s. Later 30s. I'm 40. I just turned 40.
Okay.
So yeah, probably about that same age range. You know what I mean? Where it's just not. Because I think he's kind of like me. I don't know if I even follow Dave. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. I'm not certain. I will give him a follow. But yeah, I think he's the same. I just thought he's not much of a talker. You know what I mean? I'm not much of a talker either. He's not much of a shit talker, other than calling Mike Perry out. But um, I admire that. He's just a man doing his thing. He's just a man doing his job. You know what I mean? That's kind of where I come from. That's not what I'm. I'm just not a mouthy dude. I got nothing to say for whatever that is. Kind of
The one
indifferent
thing
to all that kind of stuff.
the one thing that he started doing more, he's really big into hunting and fishing. He started posting more of that content. I feel like we know you guys are warriors in the ring. I feel like the fans want to know, like, what the hell you do outside. Like, we just had Nick Vespi on, like, and he's like, I
Yeah.
can't believe people will care about, like, the goofy shit that I do. And I was like, people are fascinated. We see you guys, and we're like, okay, we know they're tough in the ring, but like, I want to know about the person. That's why, like, I feel it's so important to get you guys on and talk about stuff other than fight. I mean, we could talk about fighting, but fighters have the same five things, like, oh, camp's going good, and I'm well prepared. Like, it's the same thing. People want to know about the person.
Well, they could dive into me. I'm big into the Federal Reserve and who runs the banking system. Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. I'm big into 9/11 conspiracies, and I'm kind of big into punching Andrew Glenn in the stomach. That's actually a pretty good idea, because here, you know what I mean. I could probably show videos of me slaughtering animals and things like that, because we slaughter animals over here. Raising animals to do that. I'm sure you're right. That's pretty interesting. I never gave it that thought that people might be interested in that kind of stuff. And I was interested in that interview you did with Nick too, because I wonder how the hell does he do that so fast? Because immediately you walk back and all of a sudden I'm tagged in something. Well, how the hell did he do that so quick? So I wasn't even sure if it was him doing it. I know that he's doing the photos, but I didn't realize he's uploading that too. So that's pretty wild.
Yeah, Nick and Evan and like that whole team, like, it's just phenomenal. Like, the social media team for BKFC kicks ass. Like,
Yeah.
they do
Hey,
such a great.
matter of fact, they don't even follow me on Instagram. BKFC, give me a follow back. I see you got follow all sorts of people. They don't even follow me. And here I got a multi-fight deal with them. Give me a follow.
I will make sure I let Evan know. But it is crazy how you guys literally fight, and then I see a post like 5 minutes after your fight, and you're tagged in it. And like you said, it's a collaboration, and they do such a great job, and they're so interactive with the fans, and they answer questions. But like I said, I feel like again, it's that human connection. We want to know more about the human side of you.
Well, that's a good thing for me to understand there too, because I suppose there's a lot to unfold in my life and what I do here. And I'm not gonna put up any Costco videos, I'll tell you that, but I'll put up some ranch videos. I'm definitely not doing nothing about Costco.
Well, I don't want to take every question. When you have a fight, we need to do an interview again. But I will end the interview with the one question I always ask people: do you remember the first time you were in a fight? The first time you did a street fight with somebody other than a family member?
Yeah, Funny, actually, I just got asked this question not too long ago. I was in probably second or third grade. The kid's name, I don't know if I should use his name. I'll say his first name. His name was DJ. And I remember he mouthed off at me. And I remember swinging. I hit him with like an uppercut in the gut, and it folded him over. And that was the end of the fight. But I remember that was the very first fight without that wasn't with a family member beyond that. I remember the one after that, probably the same year. It was with a kid named Jerry. I remember Jerry got mad at me and tried to dig his nails into my neck. And I remember kneeing him in the gut. And then there was a log. I remember dumping him over the log. Pretty innocent kid stuff. But when I got older, though, I will say this: when I got older, I turned into such an ignorant knucklehead that I'd get into street fights just back to back all night. You know what I mean? Just trying to prove who I was, but just total ignorance. And I remember I got in some really bad fights that are not good to get up on. But so I discourage anybody from doing that kind of behavior. That's for sure. But those were my first fights. Is just some second grade stuff, single shots over. So let's keep that going.
All right. Do you have any message for the fans? Anything you'd like to get out there before we call it a day?
You know what? Message to the fans. And anybody trying to do this, the thing that I think always the thing that has set me on the right path: follow your dreams, find a grand vision in your life, and pursue that with all your passion, with all your might. Put everything that you can, put all your energy that you have into pursuing whatever grand vision you see in your mind, what you think that you need your life needs to be. Pursue that until the wheels fall off with all your might. Because without that, there's something in this life that is not going to happen if you don't do it. So keep that in mind, okay? And you're capable of doing it. 8th grade dropout, complete bum at one point. Here I am. You know what I mean? Living my absolute dream. So keep that. Do that.
I always tell people you're responsible for your own happiness. It's no one's job to make you happy but yourself.
Yep. The world and life owes you absolutely zero, all right? If something's pissing you off, that's an internal thing, not an external thing, no matter how annoying somebody is.
Cool. All right, sir. Thanks so much for your time. Get to work. You got a million things to do.
All right. Thank you, Gator. Have a good day, sir.
All right, bud. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.